Okay, good day, everybody. I want to welcome you to the first shift conference class. It's also the first Millionaire academic class, and that is what we're starting off on the timetable from now to the 19th of September. You're going to be going through a series of tutorials and lessons on different things pertaining to the gospel, relating to finances and the likes. Right, so I'm Dynamo, and I'll be your tutor for this class and some of the other Millionaire classes before I would tutor you in other classes. So today is the first class, and for sure the first things that we are going to learn. Okay, so the first thing we are going to learn in the Millionaires class is mindset. So mindset is usually the first thing we learn when it comes to finances. You have to understand that being on the right mind frame or in the right mind frame is tantamount to success, right? And every successful person in finance operates a mind frame, and most of the time this mind frame, the basic of this mind frame is mostly similar. So that is what every person successful mostly understands some principles, and this principle creates an atmosphere or a framework of their mind, and this mindset is what they use to get results the way they get results. I want to tell you something, that the mind frame or the mindset of an average man is very, very different to the mindset of a successful man, right? The mindset of a broke man or a poor person is different to the mindset of a rich person, and that is mostly what is the main difference between them, right? The way they think, their faculty of thinking, their faculty of reacting, and everything. So I'm going to just take you through a very short class, because I won't make the class long. I want to just keep to 5, 10, 15 minutes at most for each classes, but I want it to be filled with what the basic and the deep understanding. So I want you to also not ignore whatever things that we are talking about. I don't want you to take it as just a rule. I want you to take everything and follow each steps religiously, right? That is the only way you could see these things reflecting in your daily life, right? So you want to take each step and follow each step religiously. So that is it to start out with. I'm just going to take us through a few things on mindset. So now the first thing I want to understand, right, is what is mindset. Now a lot of people do not understand what mindset is, right? A lot of people do not understand what mindset is, and that is always a problem. Oftentimes mindset is always confused as desires and wishes, right, which are emotionally based. Now I've seen people say they have this fellow brother who is in their productivity fellowship, or you have this friend, or you have this classmate, or you have this friend or whatever, or this family member who likes to talk a lot about business. He wants to be a business person, right? Or you have this person who dreams big and tells you that I'm going to be the next Mark Zuckerberg, I'm going to be the next Bill Gates, or I'm going to be the next Jeff Bezos, or I'm going to be the next Dangote. And it tells you that, okay, this. Or you have this friend who is into music and is just so concerned about blowing and becoming the next whatever artist he chooses to be, right? And for you as the normal person, for a lot of individuals, people often sees that as a mindset. They say, I like the mindset, it thinks big, right? So I want to make this a difference. Thinking big is not a mindset, right? The word comes from two main words, mind and set, means the settings of your mind, right? Mindset is oftentimes the way your mind is being framed. It is often picked up in the default and the small things you do. So oftentimes mindset is confused with desires and wishes, which are emotionally based. Mindsets are not based off emotions. They are not based off a feeling. how it be together. So they are not that emotion that makes you want to do more. Or when you go to church service on Sundays and you have this very, very inclined worship song, that emotion that pops you that means, oh God, I need to love God more, is not a mindset. Right? A mindset is the framework. The mindset is your mental system, which oftentimes very reflective in everything you do. So it is the framework of your mind. That means the way your mind is wired. Right? A person who would get angry, who feels like they do not want to be cheated, and they will get angry at every little sign of somebody cheating them, is a mindset. Right? A person who who is nice, somebody who all these odds is tough and is stingy and feels like, no, I can't give people, my own will finish, their own will not finish fast. That is a mindset. A person who feels like, oh man, school and scam, let me just be chilling, I like to I don't send anybody, is a mindset. Oftentimes when you go around people who are like into Yahoo and stuff, you discover that they operate a mindset. Whether the fact that they think big, say, I want to make money, I want to be this, I'm doing this for my mother, and all those frames, that is emotional based, that is desires and wishes. But when you see a framework, you see their mindset is just, you would be able to understand from the way mindset is often reflective in most things. The way you react comes from the way your mind is being framed. The way you think comes from the way your mind is being framed. The way you attack a thing, that means the way you activate the way you get proactive, comes from the way your mind is framed. So don't often think as a mindset of the fact that you feel like you want to be big in life is a normal human desire. It's an emotional based desire. It's just the same way you want to be loved and you want to be in a relationship. So thinking big, or thinking that I want to make it in life, I want to be comfortable in life, is not a mindset. It's just a desire. A mindset is oftentimes the way your mind is framed to pursue whatever your desire is. That's why you see a lot of people would want to be in a very good relationship. They want to feel loved, but their mindset is not framed to be in a committed relationship. So your mindset is a framework of whatever you own. It speaks of you. It's reflective in the way you react to things, in the way you think, in the way you move, in the way you dress, in the way that is where your mind frame is reactive of that. But your emotional desires are all these other feelings that come from being good, having something good in life. So you have to understand the difference. So now it's, as I said, it's the way your mind is framed, the way your mind is set. That is what mindset is. So you want to remove, even if you have a desire to become big and need it, you enjoy the feeling, or you enjoy the thought of being financially free, you need to set your mind in a framework that actually activates or literally helps that to work. So your life status mostly is almost or equally proportional to your mindset. So your life status, that means where you are in life, what you're doing in life, what position you are right now, is most time equally proportional to your mindset. So you'll be able to know where your mindset is at, looking at where your life is at, right? So you would need to adjust your mindset to actually project the life that you want to have. So that's why it's usually the first thing, because it's usually always proportional. So what you can change right now is your mindset. So you need to adjust your mindset to equally to reflect the kind of life you want. So now I said this here, faith is a mindset, not an emotional belief. I added it because a lot of people feel like if they are about to do stuff, or they're about to, since this is a spiritual class, right, you need to understand that there's a difference. If you see faith as an emotion of belief, like putting your mind in a position whereby you are not doubting what will happen, you think that is faith. That is really not faith. Faith is a programming of your mind, right? It's a place whereby you understand the systems in which things work. You understand what God is. You understand everything. You're convicted. You understand these things. You're rooted in it. Then your mind is framed that this is how things work. This is the system in which it works. So it is a mindset, not an emotion of belief. So that's actually a bonus stuff. So creating the right financial mindset, right? That is one thing I want to put. I've put a list of things that I feel like most people at a very early stage get twisted, right? And I want to explain those things and make sure that you get out that junk, right? So that during the courses of the next classes, we're able to talk more about these things and feeling new knowledge. Right now, desires will intrigue you, but being intentional will get you started. Now, there's a difference. As I've said, there's a difference between your desires and your mindset. Your desires will intrigue you. I like a good house, will intrigue you. I like the fact that I'm able to take care of my parents, will intrigue you. I like the fact that I have money to take care of the needy, will intrigue you. But it will never make you rich, right? So whatever you think is your motivation to become financially free is literally just desires. So you need to understand that that is just the bare basic. It has no effect on your finances. So are we together? So whether a person is thinking of a very emotional desire or his desire is very simple, it doesn't matter. So you might be the kind of person that think, my family are suffering and I really want to push my family out of these kind of cases. And you might be the kind of person on the other side, a person B might just be thinking that I just want to be comfortable. I don't want to work for anybody. Let me tell you this. I've actually seen a scenario whereby two people, one person has a very emotional desire and the second person has a very simple desire. Just like the first person has a family that needs to be out of poverty, the second person just wants to not work for somebody. And I see oftentimes that the person that doesn't want to work for somebody actually tries better than the person with a more emotional desire. So because of the fact that your reason for being financially free is so emotional doesn't mean that you will be financially free. That is the first thing you need to understand, right? So you want to clear out whatever that reason is. It can be good, you can use it to motivate yourself, but that is not a direct determinant of if or whether or not you are going to end up being financially free, right? So you want to remove that. So thinking of this now, you want to understand that being intentional is what gets you started. So whatever it is your desire, your motivation comes from, that is just the basic of it. Being intentional is putting these desires into intention. Intentions are, when they say I intentionally did something, are they are proactive means of doing things. That they are like saying I will do it, not just thinking about what would make me do it or the enjoying the feeling of doing it. No, but pushing, like saying yes, I'm getting started, whatever it takes, I would do it. That is being intentional, directing that desire into a proactive means. Proactive, I mean, is like activating something, like pushing for something. So being intentional about your financial freedom is what will get you started, not desiring financial freedom. So understand the difference. Then the next thing you want to understand is the only difference between where you are and where you want to be is knowledge. Bill Gates doesn't think like you, right? A rich person doesn't think like you. If you're not rich, a rich person and an average person thinks differently, and most of the time the difference between them is the knowledge they are open to. Now, one thing about it is that average person can be open to knowledge, and you have to understand that, but knowledge that is not in use also is useless, right? But sometimes, most of the time, you do not even understand what knowledge to use. So to have the right financial mindset, you have to invest in the right knowledge. Not just knowledge, invest in the right knowledge. What you don't know can't help you. That is just the fact. Have you ever seen or seen a particular electronic device, maybe a new generation tech, maybe a TV or a machine, that you're just looking at it and being like, oh, how do I even work this thing? Where's the turn on button? The only reason why you can't operate that machine, no matter how useful it is because of the fact that you don't know how it works. So what you do not know cannot help you. So you need to know. That's just the first step, right? And you need to put that knowledge in use. That's the difference. I've seen a lot of people who are very financially brilliant, let's say intelligent, and still broke. I'm not the kind of person that will bring a lot of technical terms to you, because most of my financial stuff is by experience. So at the end of the day, it's not by actually having this mindset, this chunks of knowledge, right? But for you to understand what is important and what needs to be in use. But you can't understand what needs to be in use if you do not have the knowledge in the first place. So you have to invest in knowledge. Now the next thing is you want to invest in a quality circle, right? I see this is what drags a lot of people back. All right, when you're with people that do not understand or do not operate the same mindset you want, you become like them. Sometimes you might not be able to find people around you that will operate the same mindset, but your circle doesn't necessarily mean your physical circle. It might be people you listen to, people you interact with, whether virtual or physical, right? That means that you can follow a person on YouTube who has a mindset you want and just keep at it. You can watch a video of them a day or one video a week to just keep at it. They create this atmosphere in your mind that wants to keep you going. You don't necessarily have to know them physically. So when you discover that you don't have the right set of people around you, you need to find virtual mentors, virtual inspiration, virtual coaches, whether on YouTube, on Instagram, or whatever channel, and just be around their content, be around their post, be around whatever they do to make sure that you are inclined. We actually operate this in the spiritual aspect already too. Okay, that is the reason why you listen to the likes of Apostle Joshua Selma, you listen to the likes of Apostle Romeo Sai, and all these men of God, because being around their content creates a mindset that allows you grow spiritually, right? So the same thing applies for finances. So you want to find these coaches, you want to find these people you interact with, you listen to their content, you see their lifestyle and all these things, and you want to be around it. It creates an atmosphere. Yeah. Then the other thing is dream big but stay technical. It's a very important rule actually. You need to I hope you're following on the slides because I'm not putting that. So dream big but stay technical. Now the difference I see is when I first started and when we first started, we were big dreamers but we were not technical in nature, right? And it cost us a lot of years to understand this difference. Like, it's not always the way you think it. The excitement is not always the way the work is, right? So you want to dream big. Yes, I want to be this, I want to. It's important you dream big. Now I see a lot of people that are limited by their very small thinking. I just want to have like 10 to this. No, right? You don't want to be limited by small thinking. You want to always think of the largest and the best version of you, the best you can do, the best you can do, even beyond the best you can do, right? So you want to always think that. It's very important to dream big. You don't want to think small, right? That's the first thing. Then also you want to be technical. You need to learn to understand how things work. So in the sense, it's not just being Jeff Bezos, or it's not just being mentioning this business, it's just not being rich, right? It's not just being comfortable. You need to understand what is the technicalities, what is the process that takes a person from this particular aspect to this particular version, right? So you don't want to just be a big thinker. I like a big car, but what exactly will get me to imagine? Let's just make a scenario now. A Range Rover Velar should cost about 38 million to 40 million. If you're a fan of cars, probably you will know that. Or let me use a more easier. Okay, let's say you are a fan. Well, I'm a fan of cars, right? And most of my people are. So a Range Rover Velar will cost 38 to 40 million. A Mercedes Benz C300, whatever year, will cost around 12 million, 40 million, depending on the year. Now, if you're a fan, imagine you're a person that actually loves this kind of car, and you say one day I'm going to drive this. The fact that you think of driving that is a very important step, right? That means you're dreaming big. Now the second step is understanding the technicalities behind driving that car. That means that you would need to pay a cost of 12 million or a cost of 38 million, whatever, for whatever vehicle you choose, right? So you understand that there's a technicality that you need to have a business that is able, or an asset or a system that is able to generate this particular amount of money. So the technicality tells you that you need to be proactive. So if you are still in selling, let's say you are the kind of person that sells a bag for 3,500, right? And you right now you're having just 10 clients or 10 customers a month. That means that you're making 35,000 a month, and you're a big fan of the Mercedes, right? 3C300 or whatever, and it costs you 12 million. You need to understand that the dreaming part of it tells you that, oh, this car is good for me, but the technical part of it tells you that you need to divide 12 million by 3,005. That means you need to sell approximately 3,500 units of bags to make that money. So what you need to think about is the technical aspect of how exactly, maybe in the period of 6 months or in the period of a year, do I sell out these particular bags. So if I divide 3,005 divided by 365, that means you need to sell 9 to 10 bags a day. So you've broken it down to a more technical right, you're broken it down to a more technical version of whatever you are thinking or dreaming. So that is how to actually have the right financial mindset. It's not just about dreaming big, you have to also be technical. You might not use your present business, but you have to understand that whatever business I'm investing in, whatever system I want to build, needs to be able to grow to an extent whereby I can bring out these my dreams out of it. So nothing can happen without consistency. You need to understand that nothing can happen without consistency, right? So you need to stay on it. The problem with people is they are dilly-dallying. They are just here and there. They are starting, they are stopping. You need to stay on it. You need to learn on it. You need to make it work. You need to adjust on it, right? So also you need to learn to differentiate between the principle of need supply and the principle of abundance. This thing is a very spiritual, or let me put it, it's a very religious principle. These two principles are normal principles for finances, but they are mostly taken they are mostly misinterpreted in spirituals, in the spiritual setting. And let me say, I don't know how I'm going to put that statement per se, but let's say in Christianity, yeah, right, being a believer in Christianity, they are mostly misinterpreted. Now, if you read most books regarding becoming financially free, spiritual books, if you read most Christian based books and becoming financially free, you will probably see them using the principle of need supply, right? These two principles are important, you operate in them, but they are different. Now, the principle of need supply or operate in the give and receive, right? That is what operates in the seed, in the giving and receiving. Giving and receiving is a principle of need supply. It's not a principle of abundance. Let me just, now it's probably something that you would be shocked to hear, but that is how I would interpret it personally, right? This is just me coming up with my stuff and based on experience. Now that is the reason why we might find out that a lot of Christians, despite the amount of seed, despite the emptying of your account, despite a lot of positioning your position to give a lot, might not actually change your financial status. And this is a thing, and most of the time in Christianity is mostly interpreted. This principle is a principle of need supply in the sense that it helps you to spiritually stay helped, right? In a sense whereby you would be able to access help at the time of need, right? It creates an atmosphere whereby people would give you help at the point of need. So in the essence, you would see a lot of people preach, okay, you need to sow a seed, you need to do this or give to God. Like, giving to God is, honestly, it is important, but as I said, both methods are important, but I want to clarify both, right? So you need to give and receive. The more you give, the more you receive, those kind of stuff. But that is a principle for need supply, right? You need to understand that is not a principle for abundance. There is a principle for abundance, and this principle of abundance is what mostly secular people and carnal people usually operate. It's also a spiritual principle, which you can also find in Proverbs and a lot version of the Bible, right? Most carnal people operate this. That's why you see them being wealthy, and you see a lot of Christians that operate this principle of need supply, thinking it's the principle of abundance, and they are not having enough wealth. And that is a thing that we need to separate, right? The principle of abundance will let you talk about discipline we'll talk about. That's why you would see Proverbs say diligence in his business. You will see before it talk about discipline, it talk about diligence, it talks about excellence, talks about consistency, it talks about adaptability. All these things we're going to be taking on in the class, but these are principles. It talks about value, it talks about finances, being accountable. These are the principles of abundance. They are different from the principles of need supply. The principle of need supply, we'll talk about giving, we'll talk about sowing, we'll talk about a lot of things relating to that. So most people preach the principle of need supply as the principle of finances, and you need to understand that they operate differently. And sometimes if you're operating under the principle of need supply as a means to get abundance, you might actually discover that it's not directly proportionally working for you. That is why in Christianity now we have a lot of people who are very broke because they don't understand the difference in these principles, right? So that's one. Now, building finances isn't a side gig. That means I've seen a lot of people who think that I want to build this by the side. The only reason why you are in school is because of finances. You need to be wise and to see things like that. Now, you are not studying a 4 year course because of the fact that it is interesting. You're studying it to have a comfortable life because of the system that is in place right now. So most people, the career system, the schooling system is what Africans right now will rely on as a means to an end, right? Is a means to living, is a means to livelihood. So the reason why you have been in school all your life for almost 16 years of your life is because of the fact that you can attain financial freedom. So you investing energy into your business or whatever financial knowledge you have isn't a side gig. So it's not by the side. The only reason why you have been schooling all these years is for the same purpose. It's not because of this fact that you like to work for somebody. It's not because of the fact that school is fun. It's an investment for a future, a livelihood of comfortability. So it is still the same end. So putting energy into building your finances isn't a side hustle. So most people say, I will do this by the side and focus on my book. Why are you in the school in the first place? But it's not a bad thing to focus on your book, but it is not a side gig, right? It's not a thing done by the side because it's still the same aim and it's working towards the same thing. And we keep on going to some basic financial mindset that you need to change. Now, creating financial freedom is also one of the basic needs for a believer, right? It is one of the basic. That means that you need to understand that as a believer, you need to have abundance. That's why Jesus said, let your light so shine that men will come. He said, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper, be in health, even as your soul prosper. That means that, most people will say vanity upon vanity, all is vanity. Like, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul, right? And they'll tell you as an excuse not to be on Forbes list or an excuse not to be the richest man, or you don't need to be the richest man, but an excuse not to be rich, right? But this is the thing, right? It is finances doesn't make sense if you are not saved, right? If you're not saved eternally, that is where it is foolishness to just build wealth when you're not saved. But as far as you are saved, there is quite a necessary need for finances. So as far as your soul prosperates, there is a need that immediately there's created a need that you prosper and be in health as far as your soul prosperates. So it becomes a thing of wisdom to be financially free when you are saved, right? So that's what you need to understand. Then I'm not a believer in the term of kingdom financiers. I'm just breaking this from mindset because of us. We are Christians, we're believers, and we need to understand how these things are being set up. Because being a Christian sometimes usually hinders some people's thinking on finances, and finance is also spiritual, but we have to just break it down. I'm not a believer in the term of kingdom financiers, right? Most of the time, people will call you a kingdom financier because of the fact that you have. Most of the time, I've not seen people tell people who don't have you are a kingdom financier. They will say either the professor God is raising you to be a kingdom financier, or right, they see any man that is rich and a very successful businessman, they would automatically say he's a kingdom financier, right? And I'm not a believer in that term. I'm saying I used it personally. I can't say you should also operate that mindset, but you might want to operate that mindset. So I say I believe it as a position that a man can occupy, right? But not a calling. Now, the callings, the apostleship, apostleship, the prophetic office, I believe that as offices. The pastoral office, the teaching office are offices, but there's no part where we talk about the kingdom financier. So you can't be called to be a kingdom financier. You can only operate a position of kingdom financier. It means you can finance the gospel, but it's not a calling. Like, it cannot be a calling. There's nobody. That's just, most people use it as a term and an excuse for them to be lazy and for you to work the finance part of it, and that is not a thing that I believe in, right? You can choose to operate in that position for a particular ministry, but it is not a calling. Every single person needs to be financially free, whether you're on the pulpit or you're not. That's just it. So you want to delete this mindset, because sometimes it's an excuse. You might say that this person is called to be. No, there's nothing like that. So everybody is a kingdom financier, right? So you want to operate that mindset, and not the fact that it is a calling, like there's an anointing for. No, just don't complicate that. It is a position you can occupy if you have, but it is not like a calling. So finances is a science, business is a science. Kill the hustle mentality. That mentality involves you to participate in confused hard work. Yeah, that's what they call also. Also is a good term, but mostly misinterpreted. So also is mostly involves you to participate in confused hard work. When I say confused hard work, you are here today, you are there tomorrow. You're finding living hand to mouth, you're finding ends meet, right? And that is a mentality that would not create an avenue for abundance. You need to understand the science. When I say finances is a science, business is a science, that means that you can put 2 plus 2 equals 1. You can pieces it together and you begin to see results. So it is a technical science. Like, even spirituality is a science. You pieces it together and see results. So finances is a science, business is a science. Don't be involved in confused hard work called also. Remove I'm an hustler and say I am an entrepreneur, or I'm a business person, or I'm a career person. Take what it is by what it is. Don't call yourself an hustler because of the fact that you are raking from here to there. It doesn't create abundance. You need to begin to understand what technicality brings abundance, what technicality runs a business, like you might have a small business, whatever it is. I think I talked to a lot of people who had fashion that day, and you might have a small business, whatever it is, right? But you do not want to limit that. You don't want to say because I run a small business, that is it. You need to understand, what does it take to move this business to the next level? What does it take to become better? So that is the science of finances. That's the science of business. Not because of the fact that you say you're just scraping and making money. So every successful person must understand the difference between motivation and discipline, right? There's a difference between motivation and discipline. Motivation is that thing that emotionally fuels you, that gives you the ginger per se, but you would not run finances on motivation. You will run finances on discipline. So forget what you feel. On a day you don't even feel it at all, you need to do it. You run everything to be successful, to be extraordinary. You need to understand what discipline is, and that it needs to be your key fuel, not motivation. Motivation is not your fuel. Discipline is your fault. So you can't be rich without being a people person, directly or indirectly. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people. I don't like people. Forget that is a broke man's mindset. When I say people person, doesn't mean you need to play with people or make a lot of friends or sociable. No, every wealth creation involves people. The people you call, we normally tag them as customers. The people we call clients, it involves somebody patronizing your product or your services. So if you're not a people person, that means if you cannot please people in your product or service, that's why I said directly or indirectly, you cannot be successful. So there's nothing like I don't hang out around people. You need to kill that mindset also. You need to start to understand how people would think, what they would enjoy, what they would love, what their problems are, right? And that is actually what will make you a better business person. So relationships are for starters, connections are the next level. This is another mindset that I feel a lot of people that are in a very average side usually operate in. Now, when you are small, you don't build connections. You cannot build connections. That is one thing that it will shock you. Now I see, if you're broke, you can't know, like people think that all you need in this country is connections. Like you need to know a rich man. Let me tell you one thing: if you're broke and you know a rich man, you're only at the mercy of him. He will just choose to help you or not. It is not going to work. So forget trying to know rich people at your starter. When you see you have an avenue to see a rich man, you build a relationship, not connection. Connection, when they say connect, it involves two people. That means connection are mutually beneficial. I'm letting you understand it. Connections are mutually beneficial. That means that you can benefit the person you are building it with, and they can benefit you. That is why the rich hang out with the rich. So it is impossible for a starter to build connection. It can only leverage relationship. So as a starter, when you meet somebody who's above you, you build relationship. That means you actually become beneficial to them, in the sense that not beneficial per se. You actually relate with them. You check up on them. You can send them gifts. You can, just keep them in your lane, in your circle. You can ask them for advice, but you can't call it a connection, because when you talk about a connection, there is a difference. So starting out now, don't focus on trying to know big people. No. If you are in an avenue where you meet the big people, just introduce yourself, be nice to them, get their contacts. You could check up on them. You could send them hamper during the Christmas seasons, and that just build a relationship between them as I know them. But don't say you build a connection. Don't try to build a connection. Then the next thing you are there asking that, please, I need you to help me. It can work, right? But it's mostly not. They will only be, you will be at their mercy. When they say at them, rich people are not at the mercy of each other. They want to help each other. Like I can't explain this enough. They want to, like they literally want to, because of the fact that they feel like, if I help this person, I will get something in return. But if you're begging somebody for a job or for money or for stuff, that is you being at their mercy. So you can't build connections now. You only build relationships. So you need to understand that connections are the next level thing, but you don't start out with connections. If you meet somebody better than you, you start out with relationship. That means you just maintain a distance, acquaintances with them, which is different from building connections. So forget connections for now. Build your business and become a person of value to be able to offer a rich person something. Then you'll be able to build connection. So the next class, we're going to talk about the science of wealth. That we're going to talk about money, what it is, building wealth, what the business is, market, media, messages, whatever it is, what wealth contains. That means a business or building wealth, what exactly it contains. So I will be talking more about building a business, right, in these classes, but I'm going to talk about the science of wealth, the science of being in a business, the science of finances, and what it entails, what triangle it is in. So thank you so much for taking the few minutes to watch this class. This will be the end for today. I plan to use 15 minutes, but I think I used a lot more. Thank you so much. You do have a great day.